From the Chicago Cubs coming back. We'll be sitting down with handwriting analyst Sheila Lowe. What can she tell us about some previous guests of Unscripted you might not already know?
Unscripted with Chris Connelly is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
Hey, welcome back. It's time to find out more about the people who have graced the Unscripted stage over the last few weeks. And helping us to do that, handwriting analyst Sheila Lowe. Now, Sheila, this is the board where our guests sign in. And apparently you can tell just from the way they sign their names a few things about their personality that maybe we didn't know before. Is that right?
Hopefully.
Well, I hope you're right. Let's start with John Abraham from the New York Jets. What can you tell us about him?
Here's John Abraham's signature. It's highly illegible, and that tells us that there's a lot about him that he doesn't want the rest of us to know about him.
Oh.
So it's also got a lot of up and down movement. It reminded me of a Richter scale, which, you know, here in California, we know a lot about Richter scales and earth movement. So thinking of movement, that's the strongest thing in here.
Are you talking about emotionally up and down, too, or up and down performance on the football field?
Well, it could be anything. I mean, with just a signature, it's hard to say, but there's certainly a lot of energy and movement in this signature.
All right, well, how about Lennox Lewis? There's a name everybody knows up there, and a very different signature from the heavyweight champ.
Yeah, even I know Lennox Lewis. That is a boxing name. And here, it's not surprising to see a big boxing glove in his signature.
And what does that tell us about him?
That says that he identifies very strongly with what he does, because he's put a symbol of that in his writing. George Foreman does the same thing.
Another quirk about him, I notice he crosses the X in Lennox with the big L in Lewis. Does that tell us anything about him?
Good observation.
Thank you very much.
That tells us that he's very efficient. He's using one stroke to do two jobs. So it's like, you know, two for the price of one.
I'm sure Hasim Rahman would think he was very efficient, too, the way he knocked him out. Here are a couple of coaches I'm curious about, George Karl and Mike Keenan. These are legible signatures, but they're very different. Tell us about George Karl first.
Right. George Karl's signature is very strong and self-confident, and he's not afraid of anybody to know who he is. It's
sure.
Like what you see is what you get.
Indeed.
It's colorful, and there's a big loop here, which is a container for emotions. So this is, you know, the big loop is big emotions, an emotional kind of guy, and who we could say has probably a very vivid emotional life.
Well, that's certainly true. We've seen him on the bench. We know that. Mike Keenan, another outstanding coach, but no loops in his name. What does that tell us that's different about him?
Okay. This signature is extremely direct and no punches pulled. He'll tell you exactly what he means. And notice here that the K is split.
They don't touch, the two parts don't touch. What does that mean?
Exactly. And then also there's this long ending stroke. So when you combine those two, you have somebody who is doing a holding off motion. It's like putting the arms out and saying, you know, stand back, don't touch me unless I touch you first or I say it's okay.
You sure you don't know hockey? Just guess. How about Jerome Bettis down here? A very sort of florid signature, a lot of fun to look at here.
Yeah, this is interesting because the first thing I thought of was a heart.
Ah, yes.
So he's probably a very romantic, emotional kind of guy.
I wouldn't know, but I'll take your word on that.
Okay, and then this is all part of it, I guess, huh?
Yeah, that's Bettis there, but look at all the loops going. It looks like an interchange here on the freeway system.
Well, it's going every different direction, so we could say that he's kind of fluid and flexible, and he can make quick changes of direction.
Spontaneous guy.
Right.
How about a basketball player, Tim Hardaway up here, a guy who obviously has gotten his share of success. What can you tell us about him from his signature?
Well, in the name Hardaway here, we see a couple of what I would call jump-up letters, where they pop up above the other ones.
Right.
So I know that he's in basketball, right?
That's right.
So he has to literally jump up. And we see that actually in his signature. Now, there's also this big stroke under his name, and that means a lot of different things, but one thing that I could say about that is it's like a pedestal. It's like putting something, you know, underneath to give him extra strength and say, here I am.
So it's like a self-confident gesture or something that he uses to gain confidence, that kind of thing?
It could be either way. I'd need to see more of the handwriting to determine that.
Sheila Lowe, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us. Sheila Lowe, handwriting analyst supreme. Don't forget, for more fabulous insights into the great sport